Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be doing kind of an artist overview. Jesse Jacobs is an artist that I've read one or two things before, either from Drawn and Quarterly or Fantagraphics. And when I was ordering this new book of his new pets from Hollow Press, I saw that he had some other books with Hollow Press and had to get everything because I very much enjoyed all of the Jesse Jacobs work that I've read until now, and very happy to report that I've continued to enjoy his stuff as I dipped into what he's done with Hollow Press. So we'll go ahead and just take a look at all three of these books. First up, Baby in the Boneyard by Jesse Jacobs. This definitely feels like a limited edition print. It's got a nice hardcover on it, a nice specialty paper, and you can see that this is a limited edition of 1,000 copies. I will complain a little bit here that this order of books that I got from Hollow Press was packaged very oddly. It wasn't packaged in a box. It was kind of like a partial box made out of pieces of stuff taped together in bubble wrap, and so it had a hole in it and it came pretty beat up, and some of the books got bent up. I think if you're dealing in like these really nicely printed limited edition kind of productions here, this feels almost like, I don't think it is screen printing, but it almost has that feeling because of the nice hard paper and the saturation of the inks and stuff. The people that are buying this are buying limited edition things, and so for them to come beat up like this it just seems a little bit odd given what type of your product this place is producing. So when you order stuff from Hollow Press, definitely make a note for them, like, hey, my postal people are gonna beat shit up, so please package this well, because it seems like they'll just kind of do whatever with their packaging. But anyways, the books that they produce are really well produced. The artists are always cool, so I can't speak bad about them in that. Like, I will continue buying stuff from Hollow Press. I was just disappointed in the packaging job. Anyways, Baby in the Boneyard. This is a very kind of typical Jesse Jacobs surrealist type of book, but you get this baby basically born. I shouldn't say they're surreal. They are surreal, but they also are very they have tight little narratives that you can follow in each one. So this one's definitely strange. They're all strange, I guess is what I should say. But this is this child that's being raised by these monsters here, and then you basically just get a description of what these monsters are. So you're imagining this child that has been raised by these non-human creatures, and you get some of, like, how the creatures find the baby strange, but then you also get some really interesting things where it's like, you're learning about the culture of these animals from the human viewpoint, and the human being like, they couldn't raise me right, like they couldn't give me milk, I just sucked marrow from old bones, it was very hard on my digestive system. And then there's a big description of like how these things breed, which is not sexual reproduction, they just split, and at some point, if the herd gets too big, they'll mush back together. So it's kind of like some of these, it feels a little bit like early Michael DeForge, and some of, like, he'll describe these strange deers. The art style looks like early Michael DeForge as well, which I quite enjoy. I really, I mean, I love everything that Michael DeForge does, but I kind of miss his early approach, and Jesse Jacobs has some of that in it, in his work. Here you see, you get some really interesting, just again, like National Geographic description of these creatures that this kid grew up with, kind of getting these cutaway diagrams talking about their life cycles and their hibernation cycles, their nutrition cycles, all of that kind of stuff is very interesting. And then here again at the end, you see that once however many cycles, they become these gigantic, crazy electricity things. So, like I said, it's strange, but I guess surreal isn't the right word for it. It's very playful, very trippy looking, but like good sci-fi. You have this kind of really intense world building around these characters that's very interesting and very compelling. So, really enjoyed that book. Even more, I enjoyed this one, They Live in Me. I think maybe this was my favorite. This is a very unsettling book. I love the cover here. Just this kind of diagrammatic approach is very compelling to me. I don't know if it adds up to anything, if Jesse Jacobs has a system in place that this means something, or if it's just pure visual delight. you have an introduction by Noah Van Sciver, and then you just get to this, which is basically a horror story, but again, just kind of surreal and trippy in the way that it's presented. It's basically a haunted house story. And here you see this, what looks like a normal house, kind of doing the Transformer thing, coming alive and being, basically scary and creepy looking. And then you see here it opens itself up to someone coming in and showing somebody around, like a tour of the house because they're thinking about buying it. And while they're there, they basically just get further and further sucked into this house that's going to eat them. And it's a very bad, angry house. It says, life will be very difficult for all who attempt to occupy me. And then you get these diagrams again. So you get the sense that this is actually some representation of the house, the energy of the house, what the house intends to do. Like here you have some people. There's obviously a diagram of a person built into here. So I think there's some kind of sense to that. I don't know that it's interpretable within the book, but it's at least some kind of intuitive, I think, emotive representation of the house's relationship with these kind of intruders upon it. But here, all trespassers shall be infected with the painful illness of my own invention. I will contaminate their vital fluids and suck dry the calcium from their bones. They will never feel comfortable inside their bodies. The stench of human blood shall eternally be upon my breath. So it's definitely a very bad house, a very haunted house. And that's what it is. These people are getting the tour, and this bad house is just messing with them. Now, a lot of these features of this house that are wild are being sold to these people as a plus. So here you get the kitchen. They basically pull the kitchen out, and then the kitchen unfolds itself. And you can see the rendering here just on, this is probably all just nonsense, but it really does look like there's a plan. You can see where the different pieces are headed, at least in how they're folding out, and it comes together to make a kitchen, which is an interesting idea. I actually, in grad school, the person that graduated from the architecture department a year ahead of me actually made something kind of like this. It was a full apartment that came in a 10 by 10 by 15, maybe 10 by 10 by 15 rectangle, and then you can unfold it, and it was a whole apartment. So it had a kitchen, it had a toilet, and everything was functional. It had a fold out bed, and what it was intended to do was you could bring it into like a loft or something that had a water electrical plug hookup, put it over the toilet, and you could basically have an entire apartment in this travelable 10 by 10 by 15 box. And it worked. That was his thesis shown. He had it, and it worked. I don't know whatever happened to that, but this reminded me of that. There are these opportunities for this more like portable type of living like that. So I thought that was interesting. But in the context of this house, it's just these strange things that you wouldn't really want in a house, like an unfoldable kitchen, right? It's just, you want the kitchen. You don't want to take the kitchen out. And then here you get a sense of them on the tour. The house is just constantly shifting. So you get these weird kind of orthographic, isometric projections of the space, but they're also like MC Escher with these weird, like corner turns and stuff that just don't make sense. And it makes for really, really beautiful visuals throughout the book. And that's pretty much what it is. There's some horrific scenes of like evil furniture or whatever. But that's what this is. These people taking this tour with this house sucking them dry. And some just really impressive, fun visuals throughout. So again, Jesse Jacobs has found like a genre that he's able to push past its, what you would normally consider a presentation in that drama. Like this doesn't come across as a horror book if you just flip through it. It has like this more static feel to it, but it's really quite distressing and disturbing for a number of very interesting, subtle reasons. And then with New Pets, with Jesse Jacobs' new work, you get a, again, very strange kind of look into an imaginary creature and an imaginary like culture that builds around it, and that's the New Pet. So right out the gate, you open it up and you get a sense of, well, yep, we're definitely back into the trippy territory here. Again, I don't know that psychedelic's the right word, because there's not much like going into the mind here. It's all about world building, but it is very trippy world building. So you get right out the gate here kind of an explanation of biology, multicellular structures, the evolution of how we became multicellular structures, and you can see it's rendered in this really beautiful clean line art style with flat coloring done really well. So what this is there's now a new pets, and the new pets are basically better than the old pets. That's how the book sells it. They're these little like troll, kind of those collectible troll creature type of things. But what they are is each one of the pieces is its own separate animal, and you can train the animals to get along together and perform tricks and things like that. The other thing that's really cool about it that's being explained, I don't think, no, they're not explaining it here. They explain it soon in the book, is the digestive process for these things. Maybe I didn't put a note on that, but basically these are pets that you only need to feed once because they have a mushroom system inside of them. I should have put a tab on that, so hopefully it'll be coming up later. But here you can see that the pets, because these are all actually separate creatures. It's not hands and feet and teeth and stuff like that. These things are like a Mr. Potato Head as well as these creepy little gnomes. So they come apart, and then when they come back together in these forms, that's just a cooperative trick that they have been taught. Oh, here we go. This is them talking about their digestive system. So they only need to be fed once. When you buy when you buy one, it comes with this packet of spores. I guess the spores germinate inside of them, and mushrooms take root in their stomach. They live off the nutrients for their entire life cycle. They don't even poop or anything. I think this is such a cool idea. I wrote, like, I wish that I could just plant some mushrooms inside my system, and that I would have a self-sustaining ecosystem that would keep me nourished inside of my belly. I think that's a really fun idea. And again, just the visual presentation of it is perfect as well. Here you see this kid going into the new pet store, Value Pets, and you've got all of the different pieces that go to make, here's the ears, here's the hands and feet, there's the teeth, the eyes. They're all kind of kept separately, and then you have these other ones that are just running around like squidgy worms, and it's all just like pretty gross there. It makes you feel pretty gross about it makes you it makes you feel pretty gross about being a pet owner and things like that. Just everything about that image is gross. So Jesse Jacobs has a good eye for the abject as well, I think. Once they learned that these pets are basically made of smaller pets and can be combined, the kids start training their pets to merge with the other kids' pets, making these mega pets. And you can see, like, you can guess where that goes in the story. A little Richie Rich looking kid here. But the pets get, combined to a big thing and basically threaten the town. You can see that here. They kind of get a little wild. But just all of the drawings of these big piles of pet parts and everything, the colors in them, just everything about this book is just so much fun to look at. And so fun in conception, the idea of these pets, the idea of how they're fed. Like, there's just always a really well thought through aspect to whatever Jesse Jacobs is doing that takes what could be kind of like a throwaway joke idea. These are maybe like 100-page book or so, and I could just see someone going wild and just being strange with it just for the sake of being strange, and actually able to tell a really interesting story throughout it. And then in the back of the book, we got to show it. A little odd on the binding here where it's bound. There could have been some more white pages, so this isn't folding on the bind. But anyways, in the back here, I really like this, tribute to poor Desmond here as the goodest boy, I'm assuming. And so it seems like this whole book is probably made, I don't know if Desmond died in 2023. Jesse Jacobs probably been working on this before that. But I think it's really cool that in a book about the new pets, we're paying tribute to the old pets, because dogs are the best and goodest dogs are the bestest dogs. So really, really enjoy Jesse Jacobs' work. If you have not experienced any of Jesse Jacobs' work before, I highly encourage you to go out and get some of these books from Hollow Press. Like I said, he has a couple other books, I think, from Drawn and Quarterly, maybe from Fantagraphics, and they're all really, really good pieces. This is kind of strangely bound here, too. So anyways, really cool set of books. Really enjoyed them. Highly encourage you to go get them. Like I said, just make sure you're kind of stern with Hollow Press that they package your stuff well, because the books will come kind of beat up, potentially. All right, thanks for joining me for this. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel and want to support us, the best thing you can do, well, we have two ways actually. You can support us through our Patreon. At the Patreon, we have two different tiers of engagement. The first tier just gets you early access to the videos. The second tier will get you exclusive previews of the books that Sean and I are working on, as well as the ability to participate in and help control where the story goes with our ongoing webcomic experiment, Pranede. So we really appreciate that help. Any of the money we get from that just helps us buy the books review, so we turn that back into other artists, other publishers' pockets, and keep this whole thing rolling. If you want to support Living the Line itself and make sure Living the Line as a publisher keeps rolling, then the best thing to do is support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll go ahead and take a look at one of his projects now. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.